hello, and welcome to the Kevin Ross Embry Show with.
Ashley Olstein.
So, we are going to uh, check in, see how each other is doing, and then we're also going to ask our guest who's listening and waiting in the wings to go ahead and make sure he connects it so it's going through his Facebook group as well. We want to make sure we get as much energy and excitement as going for today's guest. So, well, he's waiting for us to prattle about astrology and the meaning of life among the orangutans. He can address that issue of connecting us up. Um, so, how are you? Where are you? Tell me what exciting things are coming up this week because you got some exciting stuff coming up.
I do. I just got back from a workshop in Connecticut that was lovely. I met some beautiful people. And this week on Friday evening, I am doing some readings on the beach. So Wayland Town Beach, if anybody's local to Wayland and wants to come and have a quick little reading, I think we're doing 15 minutes from 4 to 8 every 15 minutes. And it'll be a beautiful night tomorrow night. So if you feel like coming down and having a little dip in the lake and then a reading, it'd be great to see people. And then next week we're doing the same thing, but we're ending it with a sunset Reiki session. So it's just going to be a group healing for anybody who wants to participate on the beach. So hopefully we have good weather for that. See if you can put in a good word, Kevin.
I will. All I keep on hearing is, don't let the sun go down on me.
Don't let the sun.
Every time I see myself, it's someone else I see.
We could just sing for the hour. I'd be totally happy with that.
How and how true is that line? Think about it. Elton John wrote that line in the 70s.
Yep.
Every time I look at myself, it's someone else I see.
Hey, Elton is all right.
Yeah.
I love him. So he intuitive seer, I think.
Because it's interesting. It's not unusual for my clients to express that they don't know who it is in the mirror that's looking back at them. If they stop and think about it. But what we do is we don't think about who we're seeing in the mirror. We're thinking about what we're seeing. Is how does our hair look? Do we need a little more mascara on? Do we need a touch of blush? Oh, make me blush. Whatever. But how often people stop and look in the mirror and go, who are you? Do I know you?
Isn't there an exercise to actually look at yourself in the mirror? Look in your own eyes for, I think, 3 minutes and see what kind of transformations take place. I've never done it personally.
There are a lot of different kind of mirror exercises. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that if you go to Amazon.com and you put in my name and the word combing the mirror, you get my book, Combing the Mirror.
Combing the Mirror.
Story about mirrors.
Shameless plug.
Combing the Mirror and other steps in your spiritual path.
Definitely.
So this weekend we have going on, what is indigeneity?
The SIP.
The SIP, Spiritual Interactive Panel, 6 p.m. And what is indigeneity? We have Sam Rochette, we have Raina Wilson, and we have Patty Anastasia. And of course, myself as the host, and we're going to look at this from a number of very unique perspectives.
Definitely a great panel. Very unique perspectives. Yep. Very different. It's good.
I'm not exactly sure approach that Samantha is going to take. Her and I have not talked about it, but I know the one that I want to take is completely different than the one that Raina wants to take. And I know that Patty Anastasia is going to be tying up animals from her perspective in
Well,
indigeneity.
tying up animals sounds a little.
Tying in, not
Tying in animals is a whole different conversation.
pull your hair back away from your ears, Ash.
Yes.
No. So, anyways, so we have that SIP, 6 p.m. You can go to facebook.com/NH Metaphysical. We'll be having it there live. It's free. Anyone can attend and ask, ask questions when appropriate. We're going to let all the speakers, the panelists, give their perspective, myself included, and then we open it up for questions. We also, just as a little reminder, we have animal communications on 8/18, and Stacy's going to be on that. She is going to be on that.
Oh, good.
Who was on our show a few weeks ago. Now, if you're watching this, there's a number of places you could be watching it. You could be watching it on LinkedIn. You could be watching it on Facebook, on the Dr. Kevin show, which is what it's still called, because changing names on Facebook is not easy. Or you could be watching it on YouTube. But but wherever you're watching it, if you do go to the Facebook page for the Dr. Kevin show, you backslash that, put it in, make sure you like it. That's where this is primarily housed, along with the other ones. You can go back and look and listen to Stacy's interview if you want to hear about Stacy. You just have to go down the feed. It's all there. It's also on YouTube, by the way. Now that
Stacy just chimed in. I don't know if you see that on the screen. She said, "Yay, can't wait."
There we go.
Yay.
I can't wait either. So we'll be having her on 8/18 for animal communication.
These are 6 p.m. Eastern time, right? We didn't put the
Eastern time. Sorry.
Eastern time. I should put. I'll take care of that.
Bad. So yeah, they're both Eastern time. Slap me on my hand. And so I'm going to jump into astrology, and then we're going to bring on today's guest. I jumped the gun a little bit last week, and I talked about the full moon in Capricorn, and I even said that the full moon in Capricorn was on 7/21.
Yep.
And 7/21 is in this week's astrology.
It's kind of nice to get a little bit of a heads up, though. I didn't mind that you talked about it early. It was good.
So,
by the way, I just have to say this whole Mars coming in with Uranus, and for me it was in the 9th house, and unpredictability. Nailed it. I mean, it's all kind of happening. So good job. Good job, stars. Good job, Dr. Kevin.
And I will say that people we are always every week we do the astrology. If you want to find out how it affects your life, your chart, if you want to know more and actually understand your chart and not just have a print off a freebie site that just looks like Greek to you and then says all sorts of conflicting things, if it says anything at all, you can reach out to me at kevin@kevinrossemery.com and book an appointment, and we'll do your solar return and your progressed and your natal chart. So I'm going to re-mention this on January 11th, which is the 10th, 11th, and 12th. If we look back in our calendar, what was going on, whatever we were trying to manifest, and whatever house that was falling is an indication of the area of our life we were trying to manifest. This is coming to fruition on July 21st, which is the 20th, 21st, and 22nd. I always look at it as a 3-day arc. So it's coming in, it apexes, but the energy is still there as it starts to go down the wane. But those 3 days are the days we want to look at.
So that's this Saturday, Sunday, Monday, right?
Yep. That would be this Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Now, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I'm taking notes. So just making sure I have it right.
Mars, which is the planet of our energy, how we move through the world, how we handle Usually it's associated with how we handle our more negative emotions like anger and stuff like this. But to some degree, Mars has its fingers in all of our how we move through the world, both physically and also how we move within ourself, within our emotions. Mars, of course, originally is, in Roman philosophy, in Roman mythology, Mars is the god of war. I always have to remember which is Greek and which is Roman, but I'm pretty sure it's Roman. It's the god of war, which I find it's interesting because when Mars is really poorly aspected, historically we've seen a major war start, but it's about conflict, and it can be as much about internal conflict as conflict in the world. When Mars is having a major conflict with another major planet, it's usually a sign, depending on where it's falling, that we're going to see some blowout of conflict and energy. That Mars is moving into Gemini on 720. Ashley, that is in your ninth house. It moves into it moves into Gemini during that time in your ninth house, when it's going to be there, which it will. I don't have it in front of me how long it's going to be in your ninth house, but at least for the next week or two before it switches over. You're intellectually going to be conflicted with things, with people, with ideas, with, institutions. You're going to have, during the time of Gemini, is when you're going to be more likely to be challenging the way you move through that area of your life, which can be travel and can also indicate that during the time period that Mars is in Gemini and with being in the ninth house, that you should be careful, because if you travel during that time period, there definitely is more likely to be some kind of really irritating delays, or it can also be that there's going to be some kind of accident or things go on. Mars is definitely known for that. On 721, besides the full moon,
Wait, going back 1 second, but we don't know how you didn't know how long that goes on for.
I'm going to have to try to pull that up. Give me a second.
Sorry to put you on the spot. I'm traveling next week. I'm like, oh, geez.
Yeah, so you really want to be careful, and you're going to want to be careful around situations that seem like they're very heated. Mars is going to be in Gemini. Let's look. Mars is going to be in Gemini.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
That's okay. I'm sure I'm making interesting faces for the camera as I'm looking at it. Till September 4th.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So it's going to be there till September 4th. What I want to say again is just be very careful. If there are volatile situations, just give them a wide berth. Just know that you're more likely to see somebody get irritated because a plane is being delayed or whatever, and haul off and decide they're going to punch somebody or throw something or whatever. You also have to mind your own temper, that, you get more, you can get more with honey than vinegar. So you try to put on the charming face, and whoever you're talking to, it's not their fault 9 times out of 10. They're just a messenger. So beware of killing any messengers.
Gotcha.
On 721, we have the Venus trining the North Node, which is happening at the same time of the full moon, which is very interesting. It is your 11th house trining your 7th house. With this going on, we've got that Venus in Leo. We have that North Node in Aries. They're kind of fueling and feeding each other. Again, this is going to have a few day window, the 21st really being the apex of it, but I would look at probably 2 to 3 days, probably 3 days, the 18th to probably the 24th or 25th, that during this energy, It's going to be a time where partnerships with organizations, with groups, people like that, not institutions. Institutions is somewhere else. We like to separate that out. But is going to be blessed. The flow is going to be good. It's going to
Good.
lead to positive stuff. This is happening right over the stuff that you're doing with the Parks and Rec department. And it's perfect because your partnership with an organization, within an organization, or with an organization of this kind is going to seem like it just goes seamlessly, and there's a lot of good energy. And you're doing that full moon in Capricorn, which is going to be all about, our business. Business. So, moving right along. Yep, because we want to get our guest on here, and we chatted a little bit more at the front. Don't worry, we haven't forgot you. Don't go away. And so on 7/22, we have the Sun trining Neptune. That's going to only have a couple of days before it, and that trine is probably going to be gone, that energy, by the 23rd, because 23rd, the Sun moves into Leo. So in the 22nd, we have it in Cancer, at the end of Cancer, trining Neptune at the end of Pisces. So this is the 20th to the 22nd. This is, again, hitting your 11th house and your 7th house. This is a trine. And in this, that is going to illuminate nurturing. And with that Neptune, the only thing you want to be careful of is Neptune can be given to illusion. And you want to always stay clear. And I would keep in mind that there was a support energy there. And this is, again, the 20th to the 22nd. The support energy is there to Neptune is also very much in spiritual stuff. And you could be looking at that. Actually, something could be coming forward that's getting highlighted that feels very familiar or feels very right. And that could be coming from a past life. You just have to make sure you keep your feet on the ground. That would be my only warning. We have Mars trining Pluto, energy of transformation, and there is going to be some energy there. And you've got Mars trining Pluto, and you've got the Sun in opposition with Pluto. And so Pluto is going to be playing probably from the 21st all the way to the 28th. That energies, because those energies will feed each other and they're going to synergize. And this again falls in, this time, in your 11th and your 5th. And it's planets of transformation, planets of action. There's a strong connection between Mars and Pluto. Both have been listed as the rulers of Scorpio. That deep, intense transformation. The trine that's happening into your 5th house is about creativity and how can you redo your creativity within organizations in a transformational way. But that Sun opposing it is saying I versus we. So you're getting pulled on both sides of this, Ash. Pulled on one side of not wanting to lose your individuality, your uniqueness, your creative imprint. On the other hand, a lot of things are falling in place that says I could be coming together and creating some beautiful stuff, but it's going to be co-creative and I have to release control. So these are the challenges. Those are the things. And we're going to bring in Tom, only 4 minutes late. That's all right, Tom. We'll give you 4 minutes on the other side, I promise. Did you have luck hooking yourself up so we're coming through your Facebook page?
Yeah, I'm not on Facebook right now, but that's okay. We'll proceed.
Okay. So, Ashley, you want to do the introduction again?
Oh, I sure do. And I'm ill prepared. So look at me. This is Tom Paladino, and he is bringing us conversations about scalar light and scalar healing. And forgive me because, again, I was ill prepared here. There we go. Scalar energy researcher with over 25 years of experience with healing techniques, using photographs of people who are seeking some relief of pathogenic diseases. It's a scalar light invention using a remote passive light energy to influence the human biofield. And it's a very interesting process.
I want to speak about that, but prior to that, I want to mention that scalar energy, scalar light, is the light of clairvoyance, or it's the light of intuition, or creativity. The light, it's the afflatus that we call maybe inspiration. So if everything starts with an instruction, and it does, it's scalar light. Now, pursuant to the conversation previous to my talk, we're working with this Akashic record, or the mind of God. There has to be some type of instruction, some type of underpinning of instructions in the universe. I call it scalar light. Some people might call that, again, the mind of God, or the Akashic record. Many people think that this is the governing body of a psychic phenomenon, or clairvoyance, or prophecy. All of that is true and accurate. So I'd like to see a marriage between spirituality and science. Spirituality and science are really, it's an equation. It's just a different way of defining our terms. That's what I want to achieve with my results, with my research, with my theories and my discoveries.
So it's always very interesting. I always like to remind people that look at science and spirituality, and I'm going to go spirituality / religion, that it is that they somehow are opposing forces. And I always like to remind them that the modern age of science was a spin-off of a reaction to the Catholic Church's, deviant and oppressive nature that was so far away from, what it was meant to be, what it was started to be, that led to the Reformation and the breakout of the Protestant churches. And in essence, science was like one of the churches. And the original doctrine in science was going to prove God. Science was never came out to prove the absence of God, or there was no God. Science came out to prove that there was God. And lots of scientists through the years, if you read like biographies or autobiographies, or you see different things, they will make references to intuitive leaps, to how they closed the gap, or how they did it. Oftentimes they see themselves as being very religious and or spiritual men. And I know religion and spirituality are not interchangeable, but to comment on what you said, Tom, the spirituality and science, should be like the two snakes on the caduceus, because together there would be no healing that they could not accomplish. But it's together that they accomplish it, not by having one snake and having the other snake in a timeout because we don't like you.
Now, hold on to that thought. I'm going to show you what you just described. This is a scalar wave.
Yeah. The two snakes.
It's a spiral. It's a double helix. And this is the thought behind the caduceus coil. Okay? This is the thought behind DNA. It's healing energy. It's the spiral of life. The spiral of life. That's responsible for the spiral of our chakras. And it's also responsible for the spiral of our DNA. So this heavenly motif, this divine design, is the cause of DNA. gives life to our chakras. It's very simple.
So we did, we had a show back in May, and we said, hey, look, we're going to try the scalar thing. We're going to have you come back on. We're going to, see what's been going on since the last time we saw you. But we're also going to talk about what our experiences were from getting the scalar, and kind of go from there. So first of all, to the audience, you can go into the back archives right on the Facebook page, and you can find the original one with Tom. We're not going to make him repeat himself 1,000 times with everything he already said. But I would like an update of how are you doing? How are the Scalar Light treatments? I mean, like, how has this moved since we last spoke?
Exponentially. I have a new process, and this is the key to my new process. I'm able to strengthen the scalar wave. I'm able to use this to a greater extent as a healing modality. Now, all of my work is by way of energy. And to be clear with the audience, when I'm working with this energy, I work with photographs of people, because a photograph of a person carries their energy signal. So I'm just going to hold up my photograph. I only work with photographs. This is a new invention behind me. The new technique is to access somebody's Akashic record or the creative strength of God through a photograph. This is quantum healing. It's a photographic force field that I access. Okay, since we've spoken, I've worked with over 50 people with cancer or tumors, and many of them are feeling much better. I have a new process in which I can take this double helix, this spiral of energy, download it into a person's force field, and we're correcting base pair mutations in the force field. We're identifying the signature of cancer, and we can correct the signature of cancer in a person's force field.
So I don't want to make you repeat from 6 or 7 weeks ago, but for those of us, I mean, I was there, so I remember, but for those of the people that might just be tuning in, and how do you capture that energy from merely a photograph?
Yeah. Behind me is a scalar energy instrument that allows me to identify a scalar signal by placing it inside this scalar force field. That's a scalar energy force field. As I demonstrated the last time we spoke, the energy force field is so strong, it can light up a light bulb in my hand. So this is a new physics in which we can access a person's force field, their energy field, through a photograph. This is not electricity. And by accessing a person's aura or their force field, we can make a favorable impression. We can correct a disease signature. So to be clear, I work at the informational level. I never work with the physical body. Working with a photograph is information. I access the informational field, the Akashic record, what some people might call the matrix. I correct the disease on the photograph, which is the informational field. Now, this is new. It's groundbreaking. If you've never heard of this approach, I understand. I invented this technique.
So, when did you start working with the new one?
In March. And I was reticent because I just wanted to test it out, March of this year. So I've been at it now for 4 months. And after 4 months, I've worked with 50, 60 people with cancer. Most of those people are in remission. So what am I saying? I can detect a cancer signature on a photograph, a cancer disease signature, and I can negate the disease signature of cancer in the informational field. I can prove that in my laboratory, but then I have to rely upon testimonies of people.
Yeah, because as you know, there are men on horses with nooses to hang people that make claims that might mean that Western medicine is archaic. So we have to be very careful there.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. And to be clear, this has nothing to do with Western medicine. I'm not in the medical community. I am in a new branch of physics in which we work with energy force fields on photographs. The recipient of my work is always a photographic force field. So this has nothing to do with medical science.
Yeah. If medical science construes what you say is taking a bite out of their profit apple, they'll find a way to try to put you out of business.
Right.
Doesn't make any difference whether you see it as medicine or not.
Yeah.
I've been around a long time, and I know people that have fallen foul of that, which is why we're always very careful how we language things. So now you actually did 30 days on me, and because at the end of 15 days, it said your trial was over. And when we had talked on the show, it was like, could you just keep doing the scalar until right up to the show so we can talk about like what were our experiences? And I sent an email and did the other 15 days. I guess I wasn't clear because I think, Ashley, you just got the 15 days and it stopped.
Yeah.
So, and then mine stopped around June 1st, and I didn't bother to send an email to say keep going. I only bring that up because I'm wondering, did you work with the new technology on just this test group or with everybody?
With you. And I extended your session, even though you did not receive an email notice. Your session was extended because I did keep your photograph within the force field.
Great. Thank you for that. Ashley,
Yes.
so that's phenomenal. Moving things forward. You're changing the energy around or in the person's energy field, and then people are expressing that they're feeling the difference in their physical bodies.
Yes.
Now one of the reasons I brought up the emails is the first one kind of does this: look for chakra, look for pathogen, look for this. But when you're putting that in, are you putting any kind of intentionality into those photographs when you put them in?
No, that's a great question. The inbuilt healing is through the energy. It's through what we call the Akashic record or the creative strength of God. This energy is sublime. It's divine healing. That is not a sinusoidal wave of an electrical current. That double helix is perfection. And so I stand aside of perfection. By simply placing a photograph inside this instrument, that's what people are experiencing. If we could see this, if this was not invisible, that's the healing motif that you would see.
Okay. So, Ashley, you want to share your experience?
Sure. So, I imagine a lot of this stuff is subtle and very difficult to really pinpoint. Like, I know that I have heavy metal toxicities. I've dealt with it. I've done different cleanses and stuff over the years. And I know that the Scalar Light, one of the things that it helps take care of is that heavy metal toxicity. So I'd be curious to physically have a test and see if it's improved at all. So the one thing that I did notice during this period of time was I've traveled a little bit, and sometimes that can be a stressor on your body, that kind of thing. In fact, I caught COVID while I was traveling of this last trip. I had never had COVID before. This was my first time, and I didn't get very sick. I was okay. Now, without this scalar help, this little boost, perhaps I would have had a very different experience. So I'm not really, I'm not sure, but I know that I didn't suffer that much. And during the travel time, I feel like, and I know that Kevin and I were talking about this earlier, like emotions seem a little bit different. I feel a little clearer, a little more patient and less stressed. So, but clarity is a big one. I feel like my thoughts and my attention seem to have a purity about them that before they might have been a little muddled. So those are the things that I noticed for sure. I have to say, I was really hopeful for the sleep. Spoken like a 50-something-year-old woman. You all know what I mean. I would love a great night's sleep. And so I had some, but then I kind of fell back into my usual pattern.
When did you fall? And Tom, I want you to ask questions and make comments, but when did you fall back into the worser sleep pattern?
Worser sleep pattern. I don't think that my sleep improved immediately. I don't, back however many weeks ago, I don't have the date handy. But I think my sleep did improve a couple of weeks later, and it lasted probably 2.5 weeks that I was sleeping better.
So I wonder, and Tom's the one that's going to have to weigh in on this, that if the scalar energy is shifting something, whatever it is shifting, it's not going to be instantaneous. I mean, it could potentially be instantaneous, but a lot of times there's several moving pieces if we're fixing something, something is being shifted. And then I wonder if when the scalar treatment stopped, that the sleep slowly came back because that you, it kind of did what it did, but as we regenerate and stuff like that, if it didn't get a completion where it eliminated whatever it was that is the core issue of your sleep, that when you stop getting it, that it slowly creeps back in. This is just what came to my mind. Tom could say I'm completely full of hooey and give you a completely different explanation. Tom, how far off was I? Did I make any sense?
Everything makes sense. And why? This is a new science. This has never been duplicated. Nobody's ever proven or disproven my work. That's what I'm trying to elicit. I need people to share their testimony. Every testimony serves as our body of knowledge. Let's be blunt. How can anybody prove or disprove that scalar energy interacts with a force field? That's my experience, but you have to have this type of instrument. So how do we prove this? Right now, anecdotal, by way of anecdotal testimonies. Every testimony is pertinent.
Okay. Do you, I mean, if scalar is support, I'm assuming that Ashley's smile, poke, poke, wink, wink is probably talking about something, I would guess, menopause of some kind.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
the
womenopause.
But since menopause is a longer stretch natural cycle, that's why I thought the scalar energy might have helped with some of the symptoms, but it's not going to take a natural process away that needs to happen because it's part of our evolutionary process. So I mean, again, I'm just throwing things out that are crossing my mind, and they may be completely irrelevant.
You're right. I would agree with that. And then what comes to mind is an ancillary program. We have a female hormone program. Maybe that's what would be pertinent for you. What I placed you on was a standard program. We always start people off with the standard. So maybe after the show, get in touch with me. I'll put you on the female hormone for 3 or 4 months. Let's see how you feel then. And then maybe bring me back in 3, 4, or 5 months.
I would consider selling my firstborn to sleep through a night consistently.
Really? Okay,
well,
let's try it.
I like her a lot, though.
Let's try it.
Wouldn't want to buy her. She's used.
Yeah, I know. She's cute. I would love to try that, and I would love to be an anecdotal
That's the
guinea
key.
pig.
Yeah,
Totally.
that's the
Yeah.
key.
Yeah.
Let's see. Many women um, in their 40s and 50s opt for the female hormone. Why? Because we're sending the intelligence
Mhm.
of hormones, not the chemical. We're sending the intelligence. All of my work is non-physical intelligence. And that intelligence reprograms the pattern body, reprograms our instructional field, our informational field. Why do I like my work? I'm not at the chemical level. I'm at a higher level of information. I much rather work with information intelligence than have to work at the biological level. So by reprogramming your informational field, many people say that they feel better.
I am happy to give it a whirl. Deal.
So,
And I'll keep my daughter.
ah, ah,
No sale.
so my experience that I most noted, and I'm in a recovering health mode. I had some health issues last year. Um, Western medicine, wah. And then I got on some alternatives an alternative that seemed to really help. So I have that underneath the surface going on while I'm getting the scalar treatment. And so I can't necessarily delineate physiologically. I know I have more energy. I know I'm feeling better, but I've been on that track for a while. And so I want to give the fairest assessment possible. And so I throw that out, and I can say, since the last time we saw, yes, my energy's better. Yes, I am. I've just started in the last week and a half to be able to start doing, I started doing Tai Chi again and kickboxing and done some yoga. And I'm actually able to work out. And I couldn't work out a year ago. I mean, I was just working. No.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So your workout routine has improved and you've gotten back into working out. That's
Yeah. So I would definitely can align some of that with the scalar energy. I'm not going to give it 100% because I'm doing something else, but I was doing it before you started. The thing that was most distinctly scalar to me, that stepped out of everything else, and you haven't mentioned this, but in the middle of the treatments, with no discernible reason, had a major, huge old grief come up and start to express itself. And, this was something that happened 17 years ago. And I'm sitting there because I wake up one morning and I am sitting at the breakfast table and I just start sobbing. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, because there's nothing in my life going on at this point for me to really be sobbing about. And I knew what I was sobbing about. And in fact, when I'm going to share it with Ashley when we finish your interview, because it led me to write a poem. But I was missing my dad out of nowhere, out of nowhere. Wasn't Father's Day, wasn't the anniversary of his birthday, wasn't the anniversary of his death day, nada. I just sobbed, and I just want saying, I'm really missing my dad. I'm really missing my dad. And I got it all together, and I came downstairs to my office to work, and I sat down and I started sobbing again. And I wrote the poem, which I said I'm going to share at the end of the show. And to this day, have not been able to get through the poem without starting to cry again. But it's getting better. It's still processing through. But when I said, what is this? I went, oh, this is the scalar. The scalar is, and I realized that when my father died, because he was in so much pain and it had been so dragged out, and it was such a blessing that I was really happy for him. But my life, like 2 weeks after he died, I was teaching in Geneva for 6 weeks. I was running nonstop, and I was happy that he was out of pain. But somehow I think because of this series of things, I don't think I ever really processed the grief of him going. And we were very close. I was living with him at the end of his life, so he wouldn't have to go to a nursing home. So he was part of my daily life right up till the end because I was taking care of him. And, but not something I've seen on any of your scalar energy thing. But in my mind, you're to blame. You made me cry. So give me feedback.
That's profound. That's profound. Now, I've heard that from a few people, but that's not typical. So I would say you're very much in tune with your emotions, and perhaps this healing double helix, that spiral of energy, brought up past emotions, your connection to your dad. Perhaps that's the case. But that really is not typical. That's atypical. The fact that you have that depth of experience, well, was scalar the driving force? It could be at least part of the force, because it's scalar energy is timeless. We're working with the matrix of the universe. We're working with divine intelligence that does not know past or if you will, future. Everything is in the present.
Well, and I think what made sense in my head, because, like I said, I've been on a steady increase for like 8 months now from where I was at my bottom health-wise to where I am now. And so I was doing the steady increase, and I'm like, okay, am I getting moving even a little faster? Am I getting better a little faster because of the scalar? But I was on that trajectory. And so, but I know that unprocessed, unreleased, especially intense emotions like grief or trauma or whatever, can have a negative physical impact. And if the scalar energy, you say the scalar energy has a kind of universal intelligence, if it goes in and it goes, where am I needed? Oh, look at this packet of poison he's been holding on to for years. Let's poke at this so he can vomit it out. So that's kind of how I saw it, is, having an intelligence, it would look at what can I do that's going to help this person get into their more perfect alignment. So I don't know. I may be talking too woo-woo. I don't know.
No, that's fine. Everything is valid.
Yep.
Once again, this is the new science. This is not electricity. We have to start delving into why we have consciousness. What is the intention? How does consciousness behave? How can we control consciousness? Well, everybody has a mind and feelings, a heart. I contend that a scalar wave is responsible for our thinking and our feelings. So when I augment somebody's thinking and feelings by way of scalar energy, that's what perhaps gives rise to our thoughts, our emotions. In other words, this scalar wave is found in our mind, in our heart, in our emotions. And that is perhaps the trigger event that brought out your emotions.
Yeah, because I never tried to stop having them. I never thought they were bad. I know better. I know if you've got some bubble of emotion inside of you, you want to prick the bubble and you want to let the emotions out and you want to let it go and you want to move past. That's the healthy thing to do. So when I wasn't sobbing, I was thrilled.
Yeah, good purge.
So you have an offer to make our guest. I'm going to let you make that offer, and then I'm going to give you an option. If you want to jump off, you can. If you want to stay on, I want to share this poem with my audience and with Ashley that I feel like was scalar supported, but you're welcome to jump off.
Okay.
We have at the bottom some of the places people can connect with you on X at light_scalar, Instagram at Scalar Light. at scalarlight.com. FB Experiences Scalar. And then we also have your website. So you said you had an audience, an offer you wanted to make our audience today.
Thank you. And I'll conclude with this. Anytime we speak on a telecast or some type of podcast, I always offer 15 days of free session. It's a standing offer. It's on our website, scalarlight.com. Anybody in the world, without obligation, can email us your photograph, include your family, get their permission. We'll treat everybody for free for 15 days. You're a force field. Again, this is a photographic process. And let's see how you feel. This is a new science, once again. And to underscore the matter, everybody's testimony is valid. Everybody's testimony is pertinent. So how do I prove a new science? I let you, the audience, prove it. My work has never been duplicated. The instrument's never been duplicated. So by way of testimonies, yes, it's anecdotal, but at least it's something. Try the 15-day free session. If you feel like it's benefited you, send me a testimony. We need to amass a database. And right now, the only database are testimonies.
Get it? Absolutely.
Thank you both for sharing that. Ashley, be in touch with me. I'm going to help you out with female hormones.
I can't wait.
Thank you once again.
What I'll do, Tom, is I will reach out to you as well with a tiny little bit of background. And if you go, there's something that I would specifically recommend with what the issue was, then we can, we can do that. And again, we'll have you on in a few months and see, because if she comes on in a few months and go, I slept like a baby for the last 3 months, she's going to be singing your praises and writing your testimonials.
Okay.
But I will email you as well and say, here's a little bit of the juice. Do you have something that intentional would be better? That's
splendid. I want to prove my work. I'm all about performance. So I'll be in touch with you both privately. I thank you again for your time, and then let's move forward maybe later this year or early next year with a follow-up.
Love it.
Okay. We'll be in touch.
Okay. Thank you both.
Thanks, Tom. Great to see you.
To the audience, thank you.
Yep. So.
All right.
You ready to hear this?
I am. Are you ready to tell me?
I don't know. I'm hoping this will be the first time I get through without crying.
I don't think I've ever seen you cry. I don't know what to do.
Oh.
You're too far away. I'm going to send you a hug if...
So this is, like I said, this is the thing that came up and it struck me. This is scalar. I don't know why, but that's the connection I made in my head.
Okay.
I really miss my dad today. Name of the poem. I know it's been 17 years. And in most days, I just think of the fun we had, the laughter we shared. Just the loving memories of him enter my thoughts. Gratitude. I also regularly have gratitude for him and the father he was to me. He was always my biggest fan. And though we had our moments, as fathers and sons do, I never once questioned his love for me. He taught me what unconditional love looked like, felt like, and let me know what it was to be unconditionally loved. I might not always listen to his advice, but I always wanted it. And when I didn't listen, there were no recriminations, no I told you so, just arms to hug me and comments like, that's how we learn and it will get better. I knew 17 years ago it was time for him to go. I never asked him to stay. His quality of life was used up, his pain constant. I was happy he was pain-free. I was happy he was no longer attached to a body that had nothing left to give. I knew it was time and a blessing for him. I live in action as best I can every day what Papa taught me. The stories he told, the moments we had, that I can never have with anyone else. Oh, trust me when I say I've gone on living life to the fullest. One of the things he taught me, to dream big, to be kind, and to always be kind. No, we don't know what demons and nightmares someone else is living with. I really miss my dad today. I miss the love, the hugs, the laughs, and the advice. I know I'm strong because he helped make me that way. Strong and loving as he was. I just really miss my dad today. Oh, well, didn't make it.
What a beautiful tribute. So perfectly worded and placed. And I can tell, as you know, he feels every word of that. And I can just visualize him behind you, just giving you a huge hug and feeling incredibly proud of the person you are.
Thanks.
Well, thank you for sharing it. That was brave.
Yeah. You know, I still feel like little pieces of grief come out, and I never thought about it until it all hit me at once that so many things happened around his death. There was so many stories, which I'll tell you over a glass, a bottle, a case of wine.
Works for me.
That of things that happened into his death, how he almost missed his own funeral. There's just like so many, but I never had a single moment to stop and breathe. And then I was out of the country, and then I came back, and then I had to pack up his stuff and deal with the estate and move and let everything go. And I was just like, and I just kept going on with my life. And I never, ever stopped to think I didn't ever really grieve the impact of losing him. And so, anyways, there it is. Next week, who's our guest? Do we know?
Oh my gosh. What a segue.
Yeah, I know, because we're
Yeah.
getting ready to wrap down.
Yes, we have Professor Pia next week. And I
Great.
have not looked at her bio, so I can't tell you anything about Professor Pia other than she will be with us next Thursday live.
Next Thursday live. Till then, be you, be fabulous. I'll be sending good juju to the beach on Friday night.
Oh, thanks. It'll be fine. All fun.
And maybe at this point next week, the construction will have started, or maybe not, but it's
Oh, permit red tape, correct?
permit, red tape, and
Mhm.
people getting back to my guy.
All right. Well, there are no mistakes, right? It'll happen at the right time.
It's all perfect.
All perfect.
I'll be down for dinner.
Please do. I'll make you your favorite. You can tell me what it is.
Okay.
Better yet, my husband will cook.
Okay.
All right.
Be well.
You
Namaste.
too. See you next week.
Yep.